something like that. Alright, so this video right here, last video, is going to be a follow-up to the last video, so part 2. The last video was my bodybuilding journey from 12 years old up until 16 years old. It's kind of like the halfway point. This video is going to be from 17 years old up until current, and we'll go through everything there. That video is going to be in the description for those that may want to watch it or have not watched it or just want a refresher, I guess. And as always, timestamps will also be in the description. So, yeah. Without further ado, let's get started. I think where I left off in that video was... I was 16 years old, went into COVID. I injured my back, so I did. And that was in the Smith machine, so it was trying to squat in that, and I couldn't move for a while. So I turned 17 years old during COVID while the gyms were still shut down. Then once the gyms reopened, got straight back to training. Back injury kind of healed up. I lost a lot of weight, so I did. Became relatively thinner. Started weight training again. My 405 squat for 8 at 16 years old basically went down to like a 365 for 1. But it only took me maybe about like 4 or 5 months to get that back up to like 495 for 1 as a max. However, I was really skinny, really small. You can see that the muscle wasn't there. Hypertrophy kind of went away. I was able to get my strength back really quick. That came back really quick. But the muscle mass did not come back really quick, sadly. So fast forwarding, that's 17 years old. We just continue training, so we get back to where we were by the time we turn 18 years old. Now 18 years old, this is that time in every kid's life. I mean, usually. If you're as privileged as we are here in America, then it's that time where you're like, okay, where do I want to go with my life from here? My parents kick me out? No, I'm joking, but... you know, university, military, what do you want to do with your life, that kind of thing. So I chose the university route, of course. I started out going for information technology. I'm currently in computer science, so close to the same thing, some differences here and there. But anyways, I decided on that, and this is kind of where, I wouldn't say a downfall started, but 18 years old, entering my freshman year of college, I got into drinking, so I did for the first semester. And this set me, I wouldn't say set me up for a bad time, but it somewhat did. So throughout first semester, I continued to train, continued to eat, and get big, but I was drinking along the way. And I competed in like this powerlifting competition that was on my campus. It wasn't really a competition with like a federation, it was just on my campus. And I squatted 500 there at like 170, 180 pound body weight. I'm not 100% sure what it was, I just know I was a bit more fluffy, and that was what I was squatting. So moving forward, that was my first semester at that university. I realized over winter break that what I was doing was pretty bad with the drinking, so I knocked that off, and I transferred from that university to community college over that winter break, all within like, you know, a week or so, to save on money. And also because I figured it would be better for me in terms of my bodybuilding goals, and I'd say it was. So fast forwarding, I actually dieted during this winter break because I got so fat. During that first semester, that freshman 50 was what it's called, I think. I dieted down really hard and got relatively lean, and then I had a crazy rebound after that, going into the second semester for me, my college career. And going into that, I ended up eating a lot and gaining a lot of weight, and I was kind of doing this for also my first actual powerlifting competition. This would be the powerlifting competition where I set my first state record for the squat at 18 years old, and it was like within the 180 pound weight class. So I did that, gained a lot of weight, and then I was like, okay, I want to go for the national record. So I had the choice of going for the national record in that weight class, trying to get stronger in that weight class, or dropping my body weight down to about like 162, I think is what it was, and hitting the same weight that I hit in that 182 weight class. So that's what I did for like the next 4 or 5 months. I just kept going really hard with the diet, and I got the weight down to like 157 or so. So you can see this kind of like yo-yo dieting here isn't really the best thing at all. And again, I failed that attempt at squatting. Even though like 2 weeks beforehand I had hit 495 in the gym where I was going for that national record at that lightweight, I ended up failing it in competition. So that was that. And after that, I kind of like hit a little bit of a breaking point. I was like, my physique is trash because quite honestly I was not looking the best at 18 years old compared to where I was at 16, 17 years old. Because of all the drinking, testosterone had been crashed, and because of all the crash dieting, testosterone had been crashed. I got my levels tested actually, and I was around like 300 or something like that. And I could tell, just physically and mentally, that it wasn't really going the best. So I made the choice to pull the plug that early, and or push the pin in, not really pulling a plug, pushing a pin in, and I started my first anabolic cycle of, it was 300 milligrams testosterone testananthate at 18 and a half years old, going into my second year of university. Oh wait, no, I was 19 at this point, my bad, 19 years old. 19 and a half years old is whenever I started. So I started that, and I bulked into it, so I did, and I made really good progress. I went from that skinny physique up the whole way up to like 170, so I did, and I was pretty solid. I wasn't like shredded or anything, but I was really solid and really lean, and that was that. Moving into December, I realized that I was only going to be 19 for so much longer, and I wanted to compete in bodybuilding, because that was always my main thing. Growing up was bodybuilding. I was inspired by bodybuilders, Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of them. So I realized I wanted to compete in bodybuilding, so I started prep. And for the first 2 months I prepped by myself. I have a friend that I sent my check-ins to every single week, like, this is what's going on. And if I ever slipped up on my diet, I only slipped up on my diet maybe like once, and it was with like an extra bowl of oatmeal at night. It was like 8 weeks in, and I tell him everything. I basically told him everything. He was kind of like my coach, but not my coach. He was just like my accountability partner, and that worked really well. So it did. I got pretty damn lean, pretty damn shredded, got striations throughout my lower back. And then we got down to 5 weeks out, and I should have, quite honestly, I should have stayed there by myself and just held that, because that would have been great for a first bodybuilding competition. But I wouldn't say this is a mistake. I just say it's a learning experience and just kind of what happened. But I hired a coach at 5 weeks out, and I love him. He was a great coach. He took care of me. He was responded well, and he did everything he could to try to help me. But for those last 5 weeks, what he wanted to see was striations in my glutes, because I did not have those striations yet. I think it may have just been a muscle maturity thing, but what ended up happening was, for those 5 weeks, I ended up losing about like 20 pounds in those 5 weeks. Already being at that shredded state beforehand with striations in my lower back and everything, losing another 20 pounds, I lost a ton of muscle mass. So after the show, about 2 weeks later, I turned 20 years old. And I'm rebounding at this point. I'm eating some more food, gaining weight again, and everything's going pretty good. Throughout the summer, I just continue to gain weight and get back to where I was. As for PEDs that I'm using, during prep, all I used was the 300 milligrams, and then during this rebound, all I used was 300 milligrams of testananthate. There was times where I'd bring that down before the starter prep and just set it like a TRT dose. But then after prep, I just kind of like kept going with the 300, and I rebounded with food, and my body filled out nicely, strength went back up, and got really strong, so we did again. Now moving into August of this year, so 20 years old, August, I started my first like real cycle, I guess you could say. Added an nandrolone along with testosteronanthate, and since then I've just been kind of like growing on that and getting back to, well, first off, surpassing where I was last year at this time, and second off, trying to kind of like show up my former 16, 17-year-old self, I guess you could say. So currently, I'm sitting at about mid 180s, probably like 15% body fat, and my goal is to push up to 200 before I start pulling back again, and then keep going from there. And the reason being for that is because, as you can tell from my history, I've always been a little bit more of a fluffier person. I've always been someone that can kind of like put down the food. And I believe that over these past 2 to 3 years, I've been holding myself back a bit. After COVID, by yo-yo dieting, going up and down, trying to stay lean, trying to maintain a lean physique, and making mistakes with my diets, and setting myself back way too much. Whenever I look back at myself from the ages of 12 to 16 years old, what was I doing? That was like a bulk, 24/7, and that's whenever I made my best progress, is just eating food, training hard, and doing what I like to do. What I ended up doing these past 2 to 3 years is I let the influence of others get to me, and the thought process of others kind of like change mine and what I was doing, and it ended up setting me up for the worst, I guess you could say. So yeah, So 16 to 20 years old up till now. Basically came out of COVID and just continued training, went through everything, then went into university, started drinking, got really bad there, started yo-yo dieting, physique wouldn't improve. Started my first cycle, did pretty good there. Started my first prep, did pretty good there up until the last 5 weeks where I lost everything. Like I could barely bench a plate whenever I was benching 315 for reps. And then rebounded, and now we're here. Mistakes I made over these last few years is definitely yo-yo dieting. I would say pick one thing, stick to it for a long time, and don't waver from that one thing. So if you say you're going to cut, stick to that cut. I don't care if you fall off for like a full week, get right back on and stick to it. Because there's no sense in going back and forth. And same thing for bulking. At least bulk for 8 months, no less than 8 months I'd say. And see what you can really do. See what you can push yourself through. Because in the end, that yo-yo dieting, it hurt me so it did, and didn't get me anywhere. And another mistake I would say is falling into the social norm of drinking in university, which I thankfully was able to get myself out of really quick. I don't drink anymore. And yeah, so mistakes I'd say I made. Trying to conform to everybody else's norms, I guess you could say. Not following my own instincts, not following what I really want to do, what I really like to do, and what I got into it in the first place for. And then third, yo-yo dieting. Don't do that. Stick to one thing, do it well, and you'll see tons of progress, guaranteed. And fourth, was starting testosterone at my age a mistake? I mean, listen, this is what I want to do. this is what brings me happiness in life. Weightlifting, bodybuilding. It's without it, it sounds kind of like, I wouldn't say tragic, but it doesn't sound like a good thing whenever I say this, but without bodybuilding, without weightlifting, I wouldn't really have anything. I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't want to live, to be honest. So it gives me purpose. It gives my life purpose. You might be saying, well, what about university and stuff like that? Listen, the whole entire reason I am in university is so I can have a job to support bodybuilding. That's that. So yeah, but anyways, I'm sorry if I sound like groggy and down today. It's been raining the past few days, and it's like kind of weird, and I'm not trying to like speak too loud as well, because I don't want to like bother the roommates. But anyways, yeah, that's this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.